past, go into the future. Questionable. Think about that. Keep thinking that in mind. All right.
Time is fluid.
So welcome guys to Behind the Call Out again, guys. Of course, I don't even know what episode this is. Might be 4 though, if I'm correct. And if it's not 4, then guys, again, I am from the future, so that's why I think this is like episode 50 by now. So that's just how good we are with this. I just want to let you guys know that. But yes, guys, of course, this is Monkey with you right now. I have Loopy here on the sidelines helping me out as always, man. And of course, I had to bring back the legend, man. The legend seemed like he was entertained. He was happy to be here. So I was like, hey, let's bring you back one more time, buddy. And of course, the legend is Drew. So how you doing, Drew?
What's up? Yeah, how you guys doing?
Losing his voice over there. Look at that. That's how excited he is. That's how
Oh,
excited
dude,
he
I'm so tired, but like I'm ready to go.
is. Good, man.
Stop being from the EU, nerd.
So, everyone that's tuning in, guys, this is going to be kind of like a nice little bonus episode for you guys at home and listening, or if you guys are at work, or wherever you guys are. It's just a little bonus episode. I know we're not going to be talking about the bracket as we usually are in the current episodes, but this time we're actually going to be talking about the patch notes for Rainbow Six Siege, of course, because again, guys, we want to keep you guys entertained and informed of everything. You know, we want to keep you informed with the Xbox community that we're doing with the collective, of course, but at the same time, we want to know what kind of changes we might do to collective. So might as well make a whole episode for these patches that are coming out, because I feel like personally this season is going to be ridiculously amazing. Not gonna lie, Operation Still Wave is going to be that new season, and again, the name sounds phenomenal, and it's just every change that's on this is going to be crazy. Everything I've seen so far, and of course, Loopy and Drew can probably vouch for them if not, but every change I've seen so far has been a good change. I'm not arguing with anything just yet. So, that's what we're going to be talking about, guys. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to go into detail about that. We're going to talk about the 2 brand new operators that will be coming out for attack and defense, of course. We're going to be talking about the new reworked of house. We're going to be talking about the whole bunch of changes, of course, for operators. So a big change, of course, for Yamaru. New gadgets, of course, going to be bringing those in. And you can't forget as well for the MMR, for people that play rank. Those are interested in those guys. Of course, we're going to be talking about that. And of course, what every Siege player wants to hear is the operation of just changing the operator balances, and those are going to be the crucial ones. We're going to be going into detail a lot, but of course, we're going to say that one for last, because we want to keep you guys here for a long time and listening. So we're going to be talking about those as well, guys. But of course, let's start off nice and easy. We're going to talk about the first operators, and the first operator we're going to talk about is Ace. And my man Loopy is going to take over that one. So go ahead, Loopy. It's all yours, buddy.
So when making an operator, Ubisoft. So there's a little bit of a story behind this. So way back in year 1, when Hibana came out, they said that the reason why they wanted Hibana was they wanted a second alternative hard breacher to Thermite. So Thermite wouldn't have just a basically 100% pick rate. And that made sense. Then they came out with Pick and Ban. And with Pick and Ban, if both teams decided to do it, they, you could ban out every hard breacher. Each team bans an attacker. Thermite and Hibana, that's 2 each team. There are 2 teams. No hard breachers. So Ubisoft looked back and they said that's where the idea of Maverick came from. So that no matter what you do, there will always be at least one hard breacher on the field. That was always their, idea. But they said up until then they had no real need to introduce a third hard breacher. Well, here we are, and we now not only have another hard breacher, but we have one that is probably the most unique. It's a little bit of a weird mixture of the 3 of them, because it has a little bit of the precision of Maverick, a little bit of the smaller holes of Hibana, but also has the potential to make those big holes that we come to know and love from Thermite. So Ace is sort of an ace in the hole on this one. Let's start with some of the more basic things. So he comes with an AK. He comes with the AK, which is a phenomenal weapon, but it does get overshadowed a lot by the Russian LMG, because the only other operator that has access to the AK is Fuse. And the LMG and Fuse go together like peanut butter and jelly. Like, let's be honest here. So the AK does get a little outshined a lot. So I'm glad to see them put that weapon on a new operator, especially with their only alternative being the M10 shotgun, which shotguns on attack are not always reliable. We'll phrase it that way. Some would call them flat out worthless, but I don't really agree with that sentiment, but they're just unreliable. Secondary is the P9 only. They're a 2/2, and they have breaching charges and smokes, which puts aces in an interesting position. Or not aces, ace, in an interesting position. Because we now have a hard breacher with smokes. That's a lot of utility. That is a lot of utility that is in this man's hands, and I haven't even told you about his main gadget yet. So his main gadget, if you haven't seen it, is it's like cylinder. You throw it at a wall or a floor or a hatch or a ceiling, whatever. But you throw it specifically, if you throw it at a wall, it makes a hole that's bigger than that's longer than a Habana, but probably just as tall as a Habana hole. Now, if you throw it high enough, it will roll down. So it'll make another hole directly below that hole, and another one if it allows it. So if you throw it at the top of a reinforcement, I think it does explode 3 times, creating what is more akin to a thermite hole, just not as fast. That being said, you can use this in a lot more ways because you can throw it. So if someone's standing on top of a reinforced hatch, well, guess what? Now you can get rid of it. But if you use it on a floor or ceiling, it does only detonate once. But you can get through any hatches and whatnot. So it's one of those things where it's like Habana can technically do Thermite's job, or Thermite can technically do Habana's job. It's just which one is more efficient at it. Which has always been sort of the beauty of Siege, is it's like they all have their specializations, even if their base concept, like all four of these operators, all four of these operators, I had to do math, quick maths, quick maths there. For hard breachers, they all technically are hard breachers, but they're so uniquely different that there are definitely situations where one is better than the other. And Ace is sort of seeming to step on a little bit of everyone's territory because his gadget's definitely a little bit more on the stealthy side. You know, it's not a big thermite charge that has the giant sizzling, before it detonates. It's not the Habana pellets that have the burn through the wall. It's nothing like that. But it's not nearly as stealthy as Maverick's blowtorch. So Ace sort of steps in on all of these operators just a little bit. And I definitely think he's gonna change the meta just based on his gadget alone. Because there are gonna be situations where it's gonna be really hard for defenders to hide. With only with only really two operators in the game right now being sort of your hard wall denial and Kaid and Bandit, I there's just there's a total of what? I think 6 things that you can or no, 2 Kaid can hit 2 walls. So there's like a total of like you can pretty much electrify every wall, I'm pretty sure. Or get pretty close to it. I think it's 8 actually. You can depending on the map, Kaid's electro claws can hit more than 2, but they average hit 2, which would come out to 8. So you can almost you could almost electrify every wall on your side of defense. But that doesn't mean you're going to. And that doesn't mean you're gonna bring them both at all times. So, I think that just means that the attackers are gonna have a lot of utility now to just burn through those reinforcements and give the defenders nowhere to hide. I think that to me is the biggest thing, especially considering that unlike Thermite, Ace doesn't have to get near the wall. He throws it. It's an object that you throw. So there's once again is a little bit of Habana coming out because both Maverick and Thermite have to physically get close to the wall. But now we have Ace who can throw his gadget. So, I mean, I definitely see him being I don't really know if I see him being a solo hard breacher, but I definitely see him being a support hard breacher, probably more along the lines of with a Habana or a Maverick. Obviously Thatcher is going to be your best friend as well. So there's always that. Um, and I think we're gonna see a little bit more of a shift on the defensive meta and be more focused on roamers instead of anchors. These last few seasons have definitely been a little bit more anchor heavy, but I think we're gonna see a change in that. And I'm not saying that change is bad or good, because I know some people hate the roamer, hate roaming metas and whatnot. I'm not here to really discuss that. And I'm here is I think that's just where the meta is going. Um, And I think that's all I have to say sort of for first look at Ace. Obviously, we don't know everything about these operators yet. We don't know exactly how they're going to work. We don't know how the meta exactly is going to change. We don't know, for all we know, Ace might be the next Alibi. Everyone thought Alibi was going to be unbelievably busted when she released, and She's not. She wasn't bad, but she wasn't completely busted. So I think we're gonna have to take a little bit of time with this one. Also, he doesn't have the speed that Hibana and Maverick have. He is a 2-2, so he's on par with Thermite. So I think that we'll definitely have to wait and see, but I think he has the potential of being probably one of the best operators in the game. Definitely.
It's definitely well said, Loopy. Definitely well said. And the thing about him that's very special and unique as well is that, when he's getting the walls, it can be to, like you said before, that distance of becoming as long as a thermite breach as well. And the thing is about that is that I even heard that if you're trying to bandit trick that, even with thermite, with thermites, let's say with his charge, it can get bandit tricked. The same thing goes with Habana. It can get bandit tricked. Mav is probably the only person that can get through bandit, of course, but it can come with a sacrifice, as you said before. Being very close to that wall can really sacrifice a body. But I did hear that if he does throw one of those breaching things, one of the little candela thingies, like you can call them, but
Selma.
throws a cylinders. There you go,
Selma.
perfect. Oh, Selmas. Yes, I've got the perfect word for it, the SELMA. But yes, when he throws the cylinders of those Selmas, it's pretty much one of them is automatically going to break through the wall, no matter if the bandit is going to be tricking it or not. One of them it's going to get through, even if the bandit is there. Let's say if the bandit charges, let's say bandit trick. Yes, he will bandit trick the second charge, but not the first one. So a hole will automatically already be breached. So that can turn into two tides, because I heard that even if he does throw that Sama there, the bandit can still try to bandit trick and take no damage for it either. Then like other things, like Thermite can literally kill the bandit. Habana can literally turn down to like a third of your health, pretty much gone. And then now with this one, it's not going to do any damage. So Bandit can literally just stay there, take the hit, and then throw C4 over or peek it and try to get lucky. So it's gonna turn a lot of it turns a corner. It turns a lot of heads as well, because when with Thermite charge, make it want you trying to run away. The Habana, you try to move a little distanced. But for this one, you might want to like just eat the shot, eat the hit, and then see how it goes. But again, it really depends about the meta, just like you were saying, Loopy. So we'll see. We'll definitely see how it goes. Um, but Drew, do you have anything to say about Ace, or are you ready to explain your operator?
Well, I mean, to kind of talk about hard breaches in general, because so I try to those Venn diagrams where you get like the circles and then you have the overlaps, and you use it to kind of show the similarities between different things. I tried pulling up a Venn diagram of the 4 hard breaches, just to kind of see what crossovers are where, because as Luby says, there's a lot of treading on people's toes here when it comes to hard breaching, but I do feel like they all have their own unique place. But one question I would say, would pose to you is, what is the difference? What can Ace do that Thermite and Hibana cannot do currently?
Well, I think for me personally, is one of the biggest issues for me with Hibana. Like, and for those of you who don't know, Hibana is literally my most played operator in the entire game. So I adore their the Type 89 is my favorite weapon. So I say this with all due respect to her as an operator because she is my favorite. But the one thing that always annoyed me about her is when you put her pellets on the wall, especially if some of them get shot, but you don't have a very wide range to see.
No.
You don't have a very wide range to see, whereas pretty much the Selma, that one guaranteed that you open is the entire length of the reinforcement itself. And
So
I think that right there is a giant difference between the two of them.
Well, the point I was trying to mean it as somewhat rhetorical, because the answer I was looking for is Ace can clear utility. His gadget is designed as a throwable, literally thrown from his hand, and when it lands on something that is destructible, whether it be a bit of floor with that has floorboards, soft wall, a reinforcement, a shield, etc., he can destroy that utility, and that is something that Hibana and Thermite cannot do directly. I mean, obviously, if there's utility behind the wall, that can get destroyed. But for the purpose of my point, Ace, for me, I don't foresee Ace being a hard breach. And the reason that I say that I don't see him being a hard breach, because yes, he has the capabilities to hard breach. It sounds silly. He is technically a hard breacher, but his utility is when you line up all the hard breaches together, he is the premier op for clearing utility right now. And we're in a meta where clearing utility is a big priority for a lot of teams, especially at the top tier. So
I want to counter with another statement on that, Drew, though.
Hmm.
So let's just say hypothetically, and I do know that this is like building an entire strat around this concept, but let's just say you bring 3 out of 4. Let's say you bring Habana, Thermite, and Ace.
Hmm.
Where can the defenders legitimately hide, especially if the defending team didn't bring, for example, a Bandit or a Kaid? Where is their feasible position to hide? Because you get 3 Hibana pellets, you get 2 Selmas, I believe, and you get 2 thermite charges. As long as none of them get picked off, you can pretty much just take away all of the defenders' hiding points by just opening up wall after wall after wall. Like, so do you think that's not? Do you think like that in itself is not taking away utility?
I mean, I would say that. So if you're going to dedicate 3 people on as hard breach operators with the intent of opening up hatches and walls in combination, then you're dedicating 3/5. You're dedicating 60% of your team to doing that one thing. And I personally don't mind that, because that's going to come with some sacrifices. You also have to remember that it's not just going to be those 3 operators. You're going to need to bring someone who can aid them. For example, a Thatcher, maybe
Or
an
a
IQ,
Holly, because she just
or
got buffed.
even Maverick. I mean, we've seen the things of like, it would be those 3 operators plus Maverick and Thatcher, and the fact that you're not going to stop the wall opening, and that's true. But opening a wall isn't everything to winning a game, and we've seen how the meta is at the minute, where it's very roamer friendly, loads of shields and setups, one eyes and Jaegers and stuff. And to your point that you made earlier, maybe we will start to see a more bunker down meta. I personally don't mind that, and I also don't mind the notion that you can take 3 or more operators to to aid with opening a wall and having that as your primary objective, because like I said, it does come with those drawbacks. I also, by the way, I also think that is another reason why they decided to give Ace smoke grenades, because it means that people can have the option, and they would still have the option to bring all of the core secondary gadgets, the smoke grenades, obviously the actual nades themselves on Maverick, flashes and claymores. So I mean, breaching charges too, if you want to add those in. But yeah, I think
Let's give a
I think to kind of wrap up my own thoughts. They all kind of overlap a little bit, but they certainly do have some unique qualities, and I'll be interested to see what the community does with Ace, because I do think there is a lot more to him than being just another hard breacher.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think that's probably the most interesting thing about Ace, is that, sort of like you said, I think there are other ways to use him. And, that's the beauty of Siege in general, is you break down, sometimes an operator's released and, the Ubisoft's like, hey, this is what they do. And then the community looks at them and says, how about this? And it just is better. And, for the most part, Ubisoft kind of just rolls with it.
Yeah. Again, you guys make very good, valid points. And, to end it off, I don't want to spend too long on Ace, just because of the fact this guy is an amazing operator, and I can't wait to see what the community does with it. And again, guys, the lovely thing about Collective that's different than everything else is that, remember, guys, we get to play these operators as soon as the season's going to be starting. So the thing is, if you timed it perfectly, as you may say, right now we're in qualifiers, right? So by the time these new operators come out, it might be the time that season 3 might be unrolling for us. And like I said, the rules are, all operators, new operators, can be able and valid to be used, of course, when the admins, confirm it. And once we confirm it, we are able to see what the community is going to be doing with it. We're not going to have to wait for Pro League. We're going to be like the first people to test it for Pro League. That's if you want to use a term like that. And Ace is something that you definitely have to look out for, just because of the fact, again, what Drew was saying before, he's not an operator. Just, it's going to be a hard breach, yes. But the thing is, It's not like Abana, because Abana's pellets can get the hatchet, but you need 4, of course, pellets to get on it. For him, it's kind of like the same thing, but you can't throw one of them. You need to throw actually 2 of his Samas on the hatch to make them opened. And the same thing for what Drew was saying before with the utility. I saw in the trailer, of course, and he can multiply use it, is that he took out Goyo shields as well, just to make sure he can clear his way, clear his path, to make sure he's not even sacrificing himself. Yes, he does get 3 of these Salmos, and if teams want to waste, the Salmos, of course, it's not waste them, but use them, use decent utility on definitely other utility, is something that you want to take in consideration. Goyo is going to be a meta that's going to be probably strong later in the future as well, because his shields are pretty dangerous right now. Yes, he did get a -1, but still, he is still a powerful operator. And clearing out utility like that with Ace, it might cause a good thing for the teams, But again, guys, we've already seen a lot of YouTubers as well. I don't know if you guys have seen him, Drew or Loopy, but a lot of people are actually taking into consideration using the Mira a lot against Ace, because what it does is that as soon as you put a Mira down, let's say, he throws a Salma on the wall, that first top breach will go off. Well, what the Mira waits for is that as soon as that first breach goes off, they literally put a Mira exactly where the second breach will go off. And what they do is the Mira will extend, it opens up, and what they do is they use that advantage into a Mira trick. So they will use that Mira and that first hole that he made, what Ace made with the Salma, and they're able to use that now as a Mira now, which is ridiculous. I think it was Jaeger himself that actually pulled that one off. I think Coconut Bra as well, which is pretty insane, because you can literally just use that Mira now as to your advantage. You can use it as a C4 hole. You can use it as shots going out. You can use it for different things, which is ridiculous. So again, that's just one of the things that you guys were saying about. Can't wait till the community what the community can do with them, and that's exactly what they're doing already in the test servers. That's happening in live right now. If you guys have PCs, so if you guys want it and firsthand test out how Ace plays, I definitely recommend getting that test server, man. But we're not going to waste any more time, man. So we're going to jump into the second operator right now, and that's going to be all you, Drew, to pretty much go down the line of what Melusi can do. Go ahead, Drew. All yours.
Sounds good. So Melusi is another. Well, the devs described it as the first 3-speed operator that they've released onto the defense side for quite a while, and it's true. It's been a while since we've seen a 3-speed operator on defense, so it's kind of exciting to have that for a start. Of course, you have the 3 speeds, the 3-speed rank players who like to kind of gravitate to those those operators where they can somewhat abuse the movement speed and stuff. But all of that aside, we have Melusi, who has, starting with the weapons, the T5 SMG. So that is a very capable SMG, the one that Legion currently has, and the Super 90, which is Frost's shotgun, which he's had since release. She has the RG15, which I believe is the Polish pistol, on Zofia and Ella, for that matter. She also has impact grenades and a deployable shield. And that's not all, because she also has her primary gadget, which are the Banshee gadgets. She has 3 of them. So to kind of give a rundown on exactly, Pengu released a video on his thoughts about these 2 operators, and he described the Banshee very well. He said it's like Clash in a can. It doesn't do damage like Clash does. It doesn't give off any electricity. But what it will do is it will slow you down. It will not prohibit you from being able to ADS properly, so you will still be able to fight back in a somewhat fair fight, apart from the fact that you cannot move. It will also give off a very audio, it's like think of it like a subwoofer sort of hum, which could be heard pretty much all over the map, from what I've seen in the test server so far. And yeah, so people would definitely know that you're coming. They're going to know that you're slow, somewhat vulnerable. Now, how do you get rid of this gadget? You have to either use an explosive or you have to melee it. You can disable it with Thatcher and Twitch, so it'll be interesting to see some counterplay there. Maybe there'll be one set up on the wall, and you'll use the Twitch to maybe bypass it instead of destroying it. We'll see. Yeah, it's an extremely oppressive gadget at the minute, and the fact that the fact that there are 3 Banshees makes it even more so, because you could just kind of just put them down and slow people on all sides of you. So my initial thoughts were Melusi is extremely overtuned. The reason I say this is because she has her primary gadget is something that you need to deal with. You cannot just walk past it. You have to, if you want to get past it, you're going to have to either use utility to disable it or get rid of it, or you're going to have to basically take it head on and either take a gunfight from a disadvantaged spot or make your way over to it and melee it. And the reason that I'm so up in arms about this is because of the fact that Melusi also had the deployable shield. I'm not a fan of operators that have both a primary and a secondary gadget, which requires you to use utility to get rid of. So for that reason, I do think that she's a little bit overtuned. I would have liked to have seen Melusi and a couple of other operators actually lose their deployable shield. Perhaps maybe barbed wire would have been something a little bit better to synergize, even though it is technically the same thing. But either way, I just don't agree with having a deployable shield. The Super 90, if you don't want to take the SMG, is a good sort of kind of bunkering down close quarters. And if, like we were just saying, we're going to be moving into a bunker down meta, perhaps Super 90 is a shotgun for you. And of course, the RG15 is one of my favorite pistols. On the Polish operator, I do like playing a bit of Zofia. I know you do too, Monkey. So it's nice to see the Polish weapon used elsewhere. Yeah, first thoughts, extremely overtuned. I do hope that she does lose a little bit of her utility. Maybe a reconsideration of her kit entirely, actually.
So I mean, you did briefly talk about this, but I just want to ask a quick question. I'm gonna briefly interrupt you. You said you don't like to see operators that have two different gadgets, both their primary and secondary, that require utility to get rid of. You did sort of allude to this, but the bulletproof camera has sort of the same concept. The deployable shield, obviously, and barbed wire also. Barbed wire is probably the easiest of the three to take out, but definitely still you have to use utility. You either have to get close to it and punch it, or use something to destroy from a distance and whatnot. So hypothetically, the only other gadget they could give her without making it any form of utility is a nitro cell. And do we really want another 3-speed with a nitro cell?
See, it's tricky because I actually think the nitro cell would synergize really well with this gadget.
I think it would as well. I definitely think it would as well. But sort of as you were talking about, she's a little bit, and I probably agree with you. I think she is probably a little overtuned. So, but now you're caught defenseless, and now you're prone to an easy C4. I mean, when you worked in tandem with someone else, I've always taken those types of things a little bit better because it requires two different operators. But being able to pull that combination off yourself, I don't know. To me, it just seems like you're pushing the envelope.
And again, just to add on to the conversation of what you guys were saying before, the two operator things is something that they're probably going to be looking into, especially like I told you before, if Mira is able to counter the ace like that. Mira does have that C4. Mira has, that cover that she wants to have from behind, and hearing this happening behind her and slowing people down like that, a C4 can be really get chucked. So she can be on her Mira, chuck a C4, and get that kill that's still on that thing. So it can be OP at the same time. It really depends on how you guys look at it. But yeah, you guys can continue.
So, like with the point of the deployable shield, I think it's not so much her as an operator. Although I do agree that, although I will stand by my point that having the shield and 3 of these banshees, it maybe is a bit too much in terms of what you need to clear. I think it's more a wider issue on the way that shields are used at the minute. And you've got an operator like Goyo on the map. You've got an operator like Wamai who has not only these frisbee ADSs, but he also has a shield in himself. He can basically set up a team, a teammate, and then go off and do his own thing at the same time. And we know that at top level, if we're going to think about it on the extremes, we know that at the top level, it's becoming an increasing issue that attackers are having an issue with time because they have to clear all of this utility, and they have to be extremely careful with their utility to make sure they have enough to clear everything out. And all I'm seeing is just another operator who's bringing another shield. She's a 3-speed with capable weapons as well, so it's not like she's going to be someone that people don't want to play. Like maybe a Warden, like Warden's got a shield, but he's not as I don't think he'd be as favored as Melusi.
Hey. Be nice.
In the meta of Ying.
My man,
In the meta of Ying.
But yeah, like I think that's just what I'm kind of thinking about it on the broader scale. I honestly, I mean, it's kind of slightly off on a tangent, but imagine imagine the game right now with no deployable shields except for Goyo.
I think Goyo's popularity and utility skyrockets 500%.
Well, the point I'm wanting to make is when you're behind a deployable shield, it is in its current state with like the mirror slits and everything. It's very strong because it's a place that you can get behind. People need to clear out, and then when you clear out, you've probably got a fallback strategy, I guess. With a Go shield, it kind of adds a little bit of spice into that because the shield could be used against you. I guess what I'm saying is that looking forward, it'd be interesting to see Ubisoft experiment with shields a little bit. I would not mind if the current deployable shield in its vanilla state was maybe ditched and replaced for some more risk reward elements, such as the Goyo shield. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if you guys have any thoughts on that in particular. But I guess kind of that's the angle I'm going from. I do think that shields are incredibly invaluable at the minute.
See, I think the issue with the issue with shields right now is the fact that, well, I think one you sort of touched on is the fact that they're so prevalent on defense. There's a lot of them, and they're on operators that are already without the shield. Even if you took away their shield, they would still be meta. And then on top of it, they have shields. I think that's definitely issue number one. But I think issue number two, and probably the bigger issue, is that there's no downside to it. Sort of like what you said. There's no risk. The Goyo shield, there's some risk, but even then, you just move, before things get too risque, or you see an Ash, then you just fall off, right? You see an Ash, you fall off. Like, there are still ways to mitigate it, but there is still that danger. I think in all reality, what they should do is something along the lines of make the slits. I'm trying to think of like the right way to phrase this. Make it so that if you get the right angle, you can shoot the person behind the shield. Now, I'm not saying the slits are no glass. Maybe you want to put it in some like temporary glass, where if you put enough bullets into the glass, it will eventually shatter, kind of concept. But I feel like just having that ability to, the fact that they're totally free and there's no risk to them whatsoever, I think is definitely a big issue.
Yeah, and like I mean, when you look at the two operators, as a package, you have one operator who brings a lot more utility on the defense side, but then you also have Ace who brings a lot of utility to get rid. Sorry, a lot of utility to get rid of utility, I guess, on the attacker side.
I use the
So
utility to destroy the utility.
it's almost like fight. Yeah, it's like fighting fire with fire. Like we're in a meta where there's so much utility to clear, and I guess I'm just kind of a little bit worried about the fact that Monk3y and Ace are just kind of adding to that fire, and I would have much rather have seen the direction of you kind of starting to strip back some of that utility.
The other issue that I have with Malusi is sort of we're running into another Jaeger issue. See, even with someone like Wamai, who has a very similar gadget to Jaeger, because there's that cooldown between each frisbee, that quote unquote ramp up or whatever. If Wamai dies early, that's still a blow to the team. Malusi and Jaeger, if they die early, yeah, you'll lose a great weapon. You lose a good operator. You lose a fast operator, not so much Jaeger anymore, but still, point is you lose this fantastic operator. But really, from a utility standpoint, what did you lose?
Yeah, that's just I like that comparison to Jaeger a lot, especially with the way that you would use her utility. You just kind of put them down. You've got three of them as well. Put down your utility, and then you just go for frag with your 3 speed and a T5, which do not sleep on the T5. Like it's a good gun.
Okay,
I've played enough
I
Legion
don't
to know
think.
that.
Okay, if you play Siege like really competitively, I don't think anyone has slept on the T5. That thing has caught so many nerfs,
So,
and it was only on one operator, and it
yeah,
was Legion, who is like the hardest anchor in the game. And now we have it on a roamer. That's just terrifying. That is truly just terrifying.
it'd be a different story if it was like an MP5, sorry, an MPX rather, instead of the T5. But the fact that it is the T5 is like you know what, like it's a test server. They've already said they're going to be running it for a little bit longer. I would not be surprised if with both operators they're just saying, hey, look, we're going to give these guys everything. We're going to make sure they have impacts for rotations, shields, plenty of utility. Yeah, and then we'll tone them back a little bit. because if you think about like the history of DLC ops, at the start they wanted to bring in operators which were very powerful, very oppressive, and then tone them back over time. And then they kind of moved to bringing out ops which were, no offense, were a little bit underwhelming. Didn't really bring
Tomorrow.
too much. Warning. And they just didn't. They just didn't really like you don't look at one and go, oh wow, this is like a worry. You go, okay, this is kind of situational. You could use a buff. And I think we're now kind of reaching somewhere in the middle where it's like, right, what we'll do instead is we'll release these juggernauts in the test server. We'll see what you guys do with them, and then we'll see if adjustments need to be made. And I think that's a really smart thing for Ubi to do, because it's not just factoring in their own theories on how these operators will be used, but they're basically just giving them to all these free playtesters and going, hey, look,
Right. I mean,
your move community.
Siege is a sandbox, and there's a million operators that have been used in ways that were totally not intended. I mean, has anyone seen the Mira hiding in the corner with her shield because no one can see her? I mean, not her shield, her black mirror, because no one can see her because she blends in with the wall. Like I don't think Ubisoft looked at that and said, "Man, while you hold this, you're gonna be camouflaged." Like I don't think Ubisoft looked at them like that. Siege is a giant sandbox. It's one of the most beautiful parts of the game. It's just such a giant sandbox.
Very true. And of course, sorry guys to cut you off, but yes, guys, we are cutting short on these timer of each operator. But yes, Melusi and Ace, obviously very crucial operators, and the thing about them, and they're going to be very nice operators. I can't wait to see how they're going to be, going to be joining the team and seeing how they kind of like impact every other team that plays. Because one of them, of course, being the hard breacher, and the other one being like, just slowing down things. And it's going to be helping a lot of things because it's like a class 2.0 for Melusi, just of course with the intention of not damaging. So of course we will see what happens.
Game.
Of course, but I can't wait to see how she uses her banshees and how it utilizes the next gadget that we're going to probably be talking about in a couple seconds. But before we jump into the gadget, we'll talk about, of course, the rework of House. So I'm just going to cut that off really quickly. I don't want to take too long on that one. But, of course, for House, guys, they made a brand new attachment to it. They revamped it a lot. They cut off a lot of access points, and they also added new bomb sites, if you want to say, as well, because the recent bomb site that was there before, I don't know if you guys played House before on Bomb, but they used to have living room and training. They used to have that one together. If you remember correctly, that was one of the bomb sites that were like adjacent from each other from above. So living, of course, on the first floor, and then you have the training room in the basement. They removed those now, having them on the same exact floor. Having master bedroom and the boys' room, pretty much. They probably put them right next to each other. I don't know if you ever played, again, if you played Hostage on House, that boys' room just is pretty crucial. Not putting now that map, because remember they had that one in bathroom, if you remember correctly. They actually put it now into master's bedroom and to boys' bedroom. And of course, half of the floors now is also going to be breakable as well. So a lot of vertical play is going to be happening from that one. And they also added a couple of the hatches. They added more hatches, to be honest, but at the same time, they moved a couple of the other ones. So they didn't remove any hatches. They actually added some more. The garage is completely revamped as well, so there's a lot of more access points, but at the same time, it's not like before. So spawn peak game, you just, at least as soon as you spawn in house, you're dead automatically. They bucked up a lot of the spawn peaks as well. But the thing about that, guys, as well, is that for House, it's going to be just casual for now. It's going to be as casual as possible for everybody to understand that, it's not going to be on ranked yet. The Dove team did say that they were going to be probably putting into ranked later down the road. But as of right now, they wanted to just release it so everybody can have fun and see what the new house is looking like. But supposedly later on down the road, they said they're going to try to rework it again so they can actually make it into a more of a comp ranked heavy map. So the thing about that is that it's just going to be, they want to make it more balanced as much as possible. So as of right now, it's not balanced as they want it to be. So of course, down the road, we'll see how it is. But for now, guys, you should definitely stay tuned. If you guys have it already on the test server, it of course is live as of right now. So if you want to test out House, they do have that little, little activity and little event that you can play House for a long time period. Yeah, exactly. Top of the playlist right there. You can literally just play it. And of course, when it comes to Xbox, they did say they were going to expand the test server for this for this one, for this operation, for some apparent reason. Of course, they won it because it's not following their schedule, because of the the event that's happening with coronavirus and the COVID-19, of course. So that's why they're a little behind on the schedule. But they said that it's going to be lasting a little longer, the test server. So if you guys haven't played it, go play it now. You have plenty of time. And then when it comes out to the live server, it'll probably be coming out maybe in a month. Um, as of I'm talking right now, it'll probably be out in a month, maybe less. It really depends. They did say the actual test server usually goes on for 3 weeks, maybe like even 2 sometimes, but 3 weeks is the max they always do. They said they might be going into 4 weeks or even a month. So we'll see how it actually releases. But House, again, is going to be the rework of map. It's just going to be a casual map, so it's not going to be added to the rank pool, not just yet. But we're not going to be taking too long on that one. We're actually be talking about the next operator that's pretty much, it's looking like a third operator they kind of released, is the Amaru. So the Amaru has been changed for a big, drastic change. So Loopy, I'd actually let you start it off, and then Drew can just capitalize and finish it off for you. But you want to start off with Amaru. If you want to know her changes, go right ahead, man. Let everybody know.
All right. So Amaru, an operator that I don't know about anyone else, but I was extremely excited about when she was announced. She looked fun. Despite not being a 3-speed, she looked like the fastest operator in the entire game. Just in general, I had really, really high hopes for Amaru. And then she released. And oh boy, was she a little bit of a letdown, to say the absolute least. Now, don't get me wrong, she's still one of my favorite operators to play, even in her current state, just because she is so much fun. And they nailed that. They absolutely nailed that. But she was not very strong. So what they're doing is they are finally giving her the love that she needs, and she is going to be, honestly, in my mind, she's going to be a pretty big menace on the field. So her changes that they've done to her are pretty small, honestly, when you look at them, but they have the biggest impact on the world. So when you first fire, so currently in the game now, like if you play the live server, when you fire your grapple hook, it will break the barricade on the window, and then you'll fly through it. That's a lot of warning. The barricade breaks, the defender looks at the window, Amaru comes screeching in without her weapon, and you just take her out. There's nothing there. It's a free kill at that point. So what they're doing is you will now not break the barricade until you yourself actually come crashing through. Like I said, so just innately it's a small change when the barricade breaks, but it adds that sense of surprise, because it's like, holy crap, now Amaru's in the room. She just busted down a barricade. What do we do? So I'm excited to see that, as well as she now does the exact same thing, but with hatches. Before, you could only go up hatches when they were already broken. Like, they had to have been broken for you to be able to go up. This change allows her to go through unbroken hatches, which I think is a pretty big change, because I definitely know one of the big things was that her LMG, especially since that when she came out, the LMG that she has, which is also shared with IQ, got buffed. It got the angled grip. I think a few other things happened to it. I don't remember exactly what happened to it. And the LMG went from probably one of the worst guns in the game to actually, at minimum, middle of the road, if not good. And she had the SMG-11. We all know what the SMG-11 is. It's absolutely hands down one of the best weapons in the game, despite it being a secondary. But the issue is you could never use them both. Now, I'm not saying that there was a restriction in the game, but both her other primary and her other secondary were shotguns, which sort of the ability to move up hatches was one of the biggest draws of Amaru. So to move up a hatch, you would need to break it. To break it, you would need a way to break it. So you're pretty much required to bring one of the shotguns, either the primary shotgun and run the SMG-11, or run the secondary shotgun and run the LMG. You could never have both the LMG and the SMG-11 if you really wanted to use Amaru's gadget to its full capacity. And that is no longer relevant. If you want to bring the shotgun, you are still welcome to do that. But now you can have that monster of a combo of the LMG for some, high sustainability, and then the SMG for that, when things are a little bit closer, a little bit more close quarter, a little bit more tight, you still have that flexibility now. So I'm unbelievably excited about these changes. Like I said, technically the two changes that they made were really small, like really small. But I think they speak volumes to sort of what Amaru could be. And I especially think that her loadout being now, I think just getting, even though her loadout itself never changed, her loadout got buffed this patch. And I think that's probably the thing that's going to make her as strong, like the strongest. I think is what is. I don't struggling to express that, but yeah, her loadout is going to be ridiculous now. Do either of you have any comments about Amaru or anything that she's been changed?
Go ahead, Drew. It's all you, buddy.
I don't really have much to add to it, to be honest. But the one thing I will say is that I do think that Amara is in a good spot now because she's a very capable fragger. When you talk about how a gadget is used, she's a lot more efficient. However, she, as a trade-off, she doesn't really bring a lot of utility to the team. So I do think that we will start to see Amara a little bit more in competitive, but only as it is currently as like a pocket strat. But I do think that she's definitely more viable as a fragger, just with that trade-off of not really, being the best at bringing a lot of utility to the team, like some other fraggers that you have on offer, such as Zofia or Ash.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think it's just there is one other key factor that I didn't bring up, but when you shoot the hook, if there's glass on the window, the glass will shatter. So just a quick tip: shoot 2-3 bullets at the window, shatter the glass before you zip up. That way they don't have that. They don't know exactly which window you're crashing through. But it's still not a huge issue.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, good job, guys, on that one, man. Yes, Amaru's gonna be a very good change, and again, it's gonna feel like 3 operators because I know a lot of people are gonna try the Amaru out and want to play that. So a lot of people on ranked and casual, unranked are gonna play those 3.
You know, it's a big change when they put it dead center and don't just put it in like the operator balancing section.
That is true. You guys looking at the patch notes, it is like just in smacking middle, just saying, "Hey, Amaru change." It's not even saying like operator change. No, it says Amaru changes, which is pretty cool. So, again, but jumping into the next topic, guys, and of course, the next note of the patch notes is the secondary gadgets. It's going to be a lot of effect, and I'm going to let Drew talk about that one in a couple of minutes. But I'm just going to let everyone know what it is, and of course, it is the proximity alarms. So that's going to be a secondary gadget, guys. Okay, a secondary gadget. So meaning that it's going to be one of the the C4s, the impact, breaching charges. Wow, the ballistic shields and all that stuff, like those
This is
stuff,
on
guys.
the defenders, by the way. This is a
Exactly, on
defender.
defenders, guys. Okay, so it's going to be pretty much it's like a claymore, but for defenders. Okay, so I don't want to get into too many details because again, I'm gonna let Drew handle this, but it's going to be technically for the defensive side. They already gave it, I think, to Cavi, so they can try it out with Cavi because they want to see how it would work with the roam game. Um, but it's going to be literally I think it's a throwable, stickable gadget. It's going to be thrown at any wall possible. It can be on ceilings. It can be like think of it like a Valkyrie cam. Okay, think of it exactly like that. When you throw a Valkyrie cam, it can stick it anywhere. So it's gonna be very creative how the community is gonna be using these proximity alarms. But of course, Drew, you can go into detail and exactly what these proximity alarms do.
I like it. I like your comparison to Valkyrie because I do think it's exactly that. It's just like it's a camera you just can't interact with. Essentially, it gives you that information and arguably guaranteed info because they'd have to deal with it or they're going to get caught by it. So just to kind of list off the operators first that have the proximity sensor, at least currently, we have Castle, Rook, Chanka, Kavira, as you said, Echo, Mirror, Goyo, Wamai, and Oryx. So we have a good mixture of operators that maybe aren't used so much and operators that are used a fairly lot, and then a couple of operators are always banned in Mirror and Echo. But that aside, sorry, Echo doesn't have it. He has some other changes, but not a proximity sensor. So scratch that. Echo
Cries
doesn't
and
have it. I'm kind of torn with the proximity sensor. I kind of think that it's been introduced at a wrong time, and the reason I say that is just because of what we were saying before about the amount of utility that the defense brings and how important it is to them, how much of a staple it is of their setups at the minute. But on the other hand, I do like where they've put the proximity sensors in terms of operators. I like how, for example, mirror was one of their choices. When you play mirror, you feel extremely exposed from, if you're playing your mirror anyway, you feel extremely exposed from certain areas. Let me set out an example. So if you're playing aviator games on Villa and you're using one of your mirrors facing into study, personally, when playing around the bar, I always feel really exposed from the 90 hallway, especially if we have no one covering it or if we lose control of it. But now I have the option to sacrifice my C4 for a proximity sensor, which I can put in the corridor. And then I will know if someone is there or not, which is really handy. You also mentioned Kavira, trying out the whole roaming with intel, which is a really interesting take. Castle is another interesting one as well, because Castle is essentially is your site architect.
But I want to hop in on that one because that's exactly, he is the site architect. That's such a good way to phrase it. But I love the fact that he
Yeah,
got it. I wanted to hop in on that. I love the fact that he got it.
yeah. There's some really good choices across the board. I like that. So you've got they've given it to Goyo, which I think is my only exception. I just don't think that. I think that this. Don't get me wrong. I think while I think the proximity sensor will be won't be as prioritized as other gadgets in most cases, I do think that it is powerful, and I don't think that giving Goyo option to another powerful secondary gadget is a good idea. And then they've given it to Omaiba. He has a shield, so we know what happens there. They've also given it to Oryx as well, which is interesting because it replaces the bulletproof cam, but essentially does the same thing in a way. So yeah, I guess my overall thoughts are it's going to be really cool to experiment with it. I'm just not sure if now is the right time to bring in this gadget.
I'm actually going to counter that. I think this is the perfect time to introduce it. We have, Malusi, whatever. God, I'm really bad with pronunciation. So basically, what Ubisoft is doing is they are more than doubling down, because they're not just giving the proximity alarm to one operator. They are way more than doubling down on it, and they're sort of saying, how far can we push this? Because, like you said, some of these operators, they would to take the proximity alarm, which in itself has a ton of utility, and I think it's going to be a very powerful gadget. You have to give up some crazy ones. Mira, you give up a C4, you give up a bulletproof camera on Kavera. I mean, yeah, it's Kavera, so like, let's be honest, how many times did you use it? But still, you're giving up a shield on Tachanka, which in his current state is pretty bread and butter. Rook, first off, also interesting thing, Rook, since the release of the game, now no longer has any of his secondary gadgets. They've both now been changed officially. But he's losing barbed wire. Like, Rook's losing barbed wire. That's crazy. Castle is another really interesting one because he's losing his impact grenades, which ironically take away a little bit from that whole psych architect, but it is balanced out with the fact that they gave him the super shorty shotgun. So I don't think that's like the worst thing on the planet, but so in that case you're giving up more of the bulletproof camera, which allows you to see. The proximity mine is more of a hear than a see. So I think that this is a great opportunity to sort of be like, okay, Mira always brings a C4. Like, let's be honest here. How often do you see a Mira with barbed wire? Not often. Not at all. So, with this fact that now she has this proximity alarm, and like you said, I think Mira is a perfect example. You're just a little scared of your backside, and let's just say you're solo queuing, or heck, even if you are on a team and your teammates just say to you, "Listen, we can't cover your back because we have to cover these other 4 places a little bit more." Then you just say, okay, well, I'll take my proximity sensor. Now you're watching a guy plant where normally you could just throw a C4 and deny that plant or whatever. You now can't do that. So the trade-offs here, I think, are crazy good. I think that this is the best time to do it because we're going to disrupt so much of the secondary gadgets on defense. Now, I could obviously be completely wrong, and defense is just going to ignore the proximity sensors. That's always an option, but I'm talking more of if they do take hold, and I think they will be powerful, so I think people will gravitate towards them. I truly do believe that. So now we're talking about taking away utility in a different way, not just straight up nerfing an operator by saying, no, you're losing that, but now by giving them another gadget that's a little bit more incentive driven. So now you don't want, so now you're taking down a C4 from the defense team. They lost a C4, not because Mira herself lost her C4, but because she didn't take it. So that's taking away some of her utility in a different way, in unique way, by ironically giving her more utility. So I think this is the perfect time with all these operators coming in that just are so utility based, sort of changing the way utility is spread on the side of defense. I think this is the perfect time to do it. Let's throw out what we knew and try something completely different. And I think that right there is why they released it now.
I like it. I like it. I think you've kind of swayed me, actually. I guess what you mentioned about having this new gadget taking priority, it kind of reminds me of the Bandit days where you wouldn't take the C4 because you were the only operator with 3 bits of barbed wire, right?
Yeah.
And barbed wire was a lot stronger back then too.
Yes, it was ridiculous.
I think one other thing that we should probably keep tabs on for a later podcast is Ubisoft's apparent shift away from the impact grenade. They seem to, because we saw Castle have impacts, of course. He was one of the first adopters of it, with the clear intent of, hey, you're going to be setting up this site with your Castle barricades, and you're going to need to have rotations. And then they gave him the super shorty, and now they've taken away his impacts. So I do wonder if maybe the impact grenade is going to become the next gadget, I guess, to kind of fall by the wayside somewhat, a bit like barbed wire has. But we'll have to keep tabs on that, I think.
I definitely think that's an interesting point. But I definitely think that more, for at least from my outlook, and I think you raise a good point. But I think from at least my outpoint is the reason why they took away the impact grenades has nothing to do with the fact of impact grenades. It has everything to do with the fact that he did gain the super shorty, and that might have just felt like too much ability to sort of change the site. So, and I think the super shorty is just more, yeah. Whatever.
You got to remember about Smoke. Remember, Smoke did have impacts while he had a shock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
So they made him have like the destruction power to, one, he can impact trick. Then he can also make rotations quicker. And plus he has a shotgun to make even more rotations. So they're just trying to take that away from him. And the thing is, if you notice as well, is that with the Cavi, it makes you think exactly what you're saying with when you're roaming. Do you want to use impacts to rotate faster, or does that mean that you want to bring the sensor with Cavi's shotgun now, because that would be your rotation. Let's say per se, be your rotation now, the shotgun instead of being an impacts. So I understand what you're saying with them leaning away from impacts, Drew. It definitely makes sense, because if you notice, that means impact tricking is going to be a lot more weaker for certain maps, especially the map that I've seen a lot of impact tricking is for sure. I'll probably say Villa.
I was about to say Villa. Villa, it's everywhere. It's crazy powerful in Villa.
It's going to be very crucial.
Site.
Exactly. So now that's going to be crucial now, because a lot of players, let's say Castle especially, you're wasting. You don't have impacts for that anymore, so you can't even use a Castle for impact tricking. The facility, the mines is going to be good. The sensors, just because of the fact that now you can actually hold better. But I personally feel like with that roam game, if you give that to an actual roamer, let's say not even Cavi probably amazing, but Ella, let's say that's gonna be very crucial. The only reason why I feel like they give it with Cavi, because she right now she is the queen of roaming right now at the moment. But I feel like if they gave it to her, you throw a sensor around your facility. Let's say you've got somebody down. You throw a sensor down. You go for an interrogation. You can automatically hear that sensor and hop right off of that interrogation, because you already know that somebody's pushing up a little bit closer.
I didn't even think about that. I was thinking it more of like it goes off and then you pounce on your prey. That's more of what I would. But that is genius. Hold on.
That's great. And then you can pick it up, right? You can pick the thing back up.
Yes. pick it right back up. Again,
That's
it's
crazy.
literally a throwable. You gotta be very careful because if you throw it higher, like a Valkyrie can, you throw it too high, you can't go re-pick it up. But for
We
Cavi,
can
it's a
figure that
measure
out
thing.
later. That's genius.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I feel like Cavi was the perfect person to give it to at the moment, just because of that, because she is again the queen of roaming, so it's gonna be a little easier for her. Next watch, you'll see that they're probably gonna take away something from Vigil and maybe give it to him as well, maybe because again he is kind of like right now the secondary roamer like that has impacts wise. Ella does not have an impact in that sense. I know Capcan does, but Capcan is still he's not that three speed. Um, and again, Jaeger was, but the thing is, I highly doubt they're going to give him a percent remind when he was roaming. So it's just a thing to keep in mind, you know.
Jaeger
But of
Oh,
was.
course,
jeez. Well, at least we know Farsight's winning season 3 now. It's That's crazy. I love that
The
train of
pro
thought. I love
I
that
strat.
line of
I
thought.
should have not told them.
Monkey's crafting strats as we're doing the pod.
I don't know what you're talking about. I should have not mentioned anything. I'm gonna erase that.
Yeah, like
I'm gonna erase
rewind.
that. I told you I was coming back from the future. I told you guys that. Come on now.
Yeah,
Come on.
he's actually sitting there on in his chair, like holding his trophy, and he's just like, I
Oh
don't even know
yeah.
what we're talking about.
I don't know what exactly what you guys talking about. But yeah, if you guys have anything else to say for the censors, you guys can go ahead and say it. Because if not, we're gonna move on to the next topic.
No, I think the sensors are, they're the sensors.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
All right. Yeah. No. Perfect. So that means obviously, guys, we're gonna go into the next topic, and that is going to be again, Drew. And I hate to bother you on it, but of course, it's going to be the MMR. Of course, the champion rank, the ranked, when you're playing ranked, when you're trying to reach that champion level. So again, to give a little description of what that is, guys, is just that now if you are, let's say, that champion god tier level, guys, let's say if you really, really are that, like that top 100, top 200, with all that stuff, now they're making it a little more, let's say, challenging for those people to get it. Now you have to play a minimum of 100 matches to literally qualify to play to get that champion position. And of course, you have to be on top of the 5,000 MMR. So, Drew, pretty much I'm gonna pass it on to you, so you can go ahead and explain what, of course, for people that don't play Siege, what MMR is, and of course the differences between the champion ranks and the diamond ranks and all that stuff. All right.
Finally, some numbers. All right, let's get into it. So MMR is the best explanation of MMR is a valuation of your skill in any given competitive game. So the MMR in this game is represented by a 3 or 4-digit number, and then you have
Elo.
different thresholds. You have different thresholds which give you a rank. So, for example, currently the champion rank, you have to reach a threshold of 5,000 MMR, which hasn't changed, by the way. But yeah, that's just an example. And then, of course, you've got all your ranks below. So when you queue into a match, the game will take the average MMR of your team, and then it will look at the average MMR of the other team. And then think of it like a betting system. The game will basically bet based on those two values which team should win. And then based on the potential for upset, so say you have a team that has, say you have 2 matches going on, and in one match the MMR averages are very close, but in the other game the MMR averages are a little bit further apart. In that second game there is more room for upset, which means that if the underdog wins, then they stand to gain more MMR, and that's how you rank up and down in Siege. You get matched against people of a similar level, and then you win or gain ELO or MMR based on the outcome of that match. And that's just the outcome of the match, by the way. Like your individual performance is not factored into it at all. So don't be going out there going for 20 bombs all the time. It's about winning as a team, because you'll all go up together. So let's have a look at these changes. So the biggest change that I'm seeing here is the unified MMR. So what do we mean by this? Well, especially for someone like myself who is EU and sat here with 2 friends of mine from NA, it's very nice occasionally to jump across to the NA region and play some games of Siege, because it's either going to be that or Monk3y and Loopy needs to jump onto EU servers. Someone's going to have to jump over to the other. And you'll notice that when you do go to a region that is not yours, you start off with, you've got a completely new MMR. It's like you've got a fresh account, not in terms of level, but just in terms of your MMR and your skill within the game. Now, the change that is going to be made is that all of this is going to be unified, meaning that if I am a Platinum 3 rank on EU and I want to jump over and play some ranked games with Luffy and Monk3y, then I will also be a Plat 3 on that server as well. And all of the usual restrictions for rank, including matching together and having different rank thresholds within within the same party, will still apply. The reason that they're doing this is they're wanting to limit the amount of smurfing that is going on. A lot of people have burner accounts set, especially on console actually, where they like to just hop on the burner account and go play some indie games to chill out. And having players that play predominantly in one region and then suddenly hop to another and have a complete reset of their MMR because that region they've not played enough games in that region for the game to accurately or the game to have an as accurate a gauge on their level of skills they have in their usual region. It causes a lot of mismatches, which even if you're not smurfing, it's still technically smurfing at that rate. So again, to kind of summarize all of that, DDLR, all ranks are going to be unified. If you're Plat 1 in one region, you're Plat 1 in the other region, and your skill will be exactly the same, and your MMR changes will be exactly the same there too. The other main thing is the Champions rank, which has also been unified. So what is the Champions rank? The Champions rank is when you hit Diamond, and you can go further. If you go above 5,000 MMR, you start reaching into the champion threshold, which is basically the top players within your region. The difference this season and going forward is that that's going to be unified as well. So not only will you have a champion number based on your own region, but globally. So it's going to make getting that champion rank a little bit harder because there's no longer going to be a number one in each region. That's going to be a number one in the world, which is extremely enticing. There's been a couple of other changes too to do with ranked, and these are mainly to combat the problem of smurfing for the purpose of cheating. And it also kind of it's like an extra barrier for like hackers as well because of the amount of time they're going to need to put in because it's been announced that to play ranked, you're going to need to be at least clearance level 50, up from 25 or 30, I can't quite remember. And additionally, for you to be eligible for the champion rank, you need to have played a minimum of 100 matches. So yeah, this is going to help a lot of the smurfing issue, a lot of the cheating issue, and hopefully, especially the top ranks of Siege, ranked can be a little bit of a cleaner place.
Man,
Definitely.
this is well said, man. Well said. I'm like speeches of how accurate that was. But yes, that's exactly it. And Loopy, do you have anything to add to this man's wonderful speech?
Honestly, to me, MMR/ELO has always just been ELO. I've never been one of those people to strive for the top 100. I play for fun. Obviously, I play to win. Like, I don't like to lose or whatever, but really the champion rank or whatever has never really enticed me too much. I'm just there to play with my friends and win some games and whatever. Don't try to sweat too much about that kind of stuff. So this is all Drew. This is all Drew.
Yeah, same. I mean, I would have been champion already, but I just, I don't.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
I would have been.
Yeah, I just
top
want
three
to.
champion.
I just want to play with my friends. I just don't want to sweat. Give other people a chance.
Gotcha. I'm gonna have to use
As a support player,
cap line on that one.
I tip my hat to you.
Yeah,
I Habana to a Havana.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. But definitely well said, Drew, and thank you for that, man. But again, guys, going to the next topic after that one, man. Literally, it's gonna be going into the new elite that's gonna be coming out. Of course, I'm excited for this. I am an Echo main, and seeing that elite for Echo is gonna be coming out. Oh yes. I just don't play in leagues because I don't want guys to ban it. So I need to. So I got to delete this podcast again. But yes, the elite for Echo is gonna be phenomenal. Oh my god, this man looks like a ninja. Hopefully for everybody there, I'm probably gonna put a picture up for you guys to see it. But everybody else is not seeing it.
Watch there be a bug with it and it gets banned.
Yeah. But it's phenomenal, man. It's a really good, just capture of how stealthy he is, the whole entire thing. Because again, him and Habana are kind of like that ninja. Of course, for their error.
Elite. Oh, that thing is so pretty. I don't know which is personally for me. I don't know which one is better, the Mira Elite or the Havana Elite.
Definitely the Habana. Hands down.
I
Hands
mean,
down.
I'm
I
also
like
I'm
Havana more.
also Spanish, so like the Mirror Elite just
That's
speaks
true.
to me. It just speaks
That's
to me.
true. You're right about that. I didn't actually think about it that way, but yeah, no. But the Echo Elite that's coming out, man, is looking pretty fresh, looking pretty cool. So if you guys haven't looked at that, you definitely should look it up on Rainbow Six Siege. If not, guys, again, forget about that. Just go definitely to YouTube because YouTube. Look up behind the call out, and you'll see it there better. We're gonna have a little big picture there. You guys can see. We'll probably put the animation video. Who knows? Probably not, but check it out, man. It's definitely pretty cool to look at. Going straight up to that, of course, the weapon skins. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but this time they usually put like 4 to 3 different weapon skins, but this time it's going to be, it's just literally 2. They look kind of okay. They don't look that crazy, but a game again though, the detail into them is pretty cool. I definitely like the details.
Gonna flex real quick, but I have every single seasonal skin
Oh
since
jeez,
Red Pro.
guys.
Since Red Pro.
Excuse me. You guys look at that, man. Look at that. That's
I'm
a
actually so
known fun
serious.
fact.
I actually am serious. I have all of them.
That's a fun fact, guys. You guys just learned about Loopy now. And for me, no, I look at them, I look at which one I like the most, and I'll probably buy it. But that's pretty much it. I don't know. I should probably start doing that now. but skipping over those seasonal skins, guys. Again, we'll probably put a picture for you guys just to watch them. But if you guys don't, again, just look it up on YouTube for behind the call out. If not, go to literally also Rainbow Six Siege, Ubisoft.com. If anything, they're there. You can definitely see them. The other thing as well is that. Yeah, the only thing else as well is just the operator balance that we're going to be talking about as well. We're going to be going into a lot of detail about this one. But we're going to go into detail by detail, going step by step. We'll probably be taking turns into this one, but I'll probably just talk about them. I'll let you guys know what they are. And then, of course, Loopy and Drew, if they, of course, they have an idea, if anything they want to pitch in, they'll pitch in and they'll jump right in. But the first person we're going to be talking about is Clash. So Clash is something that's going to be a little unknown. A lot of people have not talked about this Clash. I think it's a buff or a nerf. It's up to you guys, whatever you decide. But Clash's SMG is going to be switching, technically, but it's going to be switching to the switching from having the red dot to the reflex green triangle. So, Loopy, you were saying a nerf. Do you want to, kind of explain?
So I actually, okay, all jokes aside, the reflex sight is one of my favorite sights in the entire game. But the triangle just bugs me. The triangle just, even from release of the game till now, the fact that it's a triangle has always bugged me. I really think that personally, just make sites customizable. Just make them customizable. I don't know how hard it is to implement at this point in the game. Like, I truly don't. But just please, it would make it so much easier because I've talked to some people who say that they prefer their sites to be yellow. I personally prefer my site to be pink because pink is not normally a color you see in this kind of game, so it stands out further. Whereas on other maps, there are green surfaces that once in a while I'll lose my reticle in, for example, or a red surface and I'll lose my reticle in. So I just like that bright pink that just stands out sort of against everything. So like I don't really know why we don't just have customizable ones, but that's sort of beside the point. But the triangle is just an odd shape for a site. To me, I've always preferred the precision of a dot. And that is truly just a personal preference. So depending on who you are, that might be a buff, that might be a nerf. But for me personally, I just prefer the dot.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. I do agree with them actually putting in their little own little vertical change. It'd be awesome. The thing is, they also got to bring in as well is that another fun fact that Loopy just shared before, but I'm just gonna share now. They got to add the colorblind system. Jesus Christ, man, Jesus! I am colorblind, and it's just annoying sometimes looking at these colors. If they add that feature later down the road, that'd be pretty awesome. But yeah, the triangle is going to be kind of effective. Um, to some. Especially, I think it was Pengu. Pengu said it the best. When you are using that reflex, you got to aim for the tip of that triangle. I mean, a lot of people like to aim in the middle of the triangle because that's how other games are. You aim at the middle. But the tip of the triangle is going to be definitely crucial to some players. But we'll see how it goes on. Drew, do you want to mention anything from the Clash, or we're going to move on?
Yeah, we can move on. It's all been said.
All right,
Well,
perfect.
I'm gonna ask, do you think this is a buff or a nerf?
I mean, I prefer the reflex sight, so I agree with you. I think it's kind of personal preference. So for me, I'll be a little bit more comfortable using it if I ever use it.
All right, fair enough.
No, I use it from time to time, but she's certainly not a go-to. But yeah, I guess I'm just kind of in your camp of give us customizable things in the future, please. We've already seen that they're actually doing customizations to weapon attachments, but hopefully reticles and stuff like that aren't too far down the road.
That's true, and I really can't wait to actually see that change. It might take them a while, especially with this, this happening outside in the world, of course, but might happen sooner than we think. Who never know? But of course, the next person is going to be talked about is going to be Echo. Even though he's getting his elite, he is going to be getting a couple of the nerfs here and there. So that the Doves were thinking like, hey, let's give him an elite to make everybody seem happy, but there's actually be some background behind it, and the background behind it, of course, is that they're going to be removing the camera shake effect from the Yokai's concussion. So that's one of the nerfs right there. And of course, the other one is going to be the length of the concussion effect is no longer affected by movement. Of course, that's going to be just because of the new operators going to be coming with her Banshees. It's going to be like, how Clash is. Clash affects your movements and kind of like your sensitivity as well. Now the concussions of Echo, now it's not going to be doing neither of that. But the effect, of course, would be lasting a little longer, up to 10 seconds. It's still fixed though, so that's something that sucks. So now it's not going to be affecting too many of the visual sights of your your eyesight while you're playing the game. But the only positive side that we were talking about before about the impact tricking, they're going to be taking away his deployable shield for an impact grenade, which is I guess a plus, especially if you're staying in sight. Again, playing Villa, you want to impact trick. At least you got Echo to do that now too. So which is awesome. You still got to rely on your cameras though, so you got to hop on those Echo drones. You might kind of forget to impact trick, but still, Yokais are still going to be pretty powerful at least. But yeah, you guys can definitely hop onto that one. Drew, if you have anything to say first, and then Loopy can go right after.
I personally like this change. I mean, Echo's always been seen as more frustration sort of operator than overly powerful. Although I do think that he is also powerful. But the removing the concussion effect is, and kind of bringing all of those in line is a really smart move because now you know whether it's Nelamine or Banshee, you're going to have the exact same effect each time. You don't need to react to different things, which could be piled on top of each other and create all these gray areas. So that's good for a start. And of course, you've heard me whine about deployable shields all night, so I'm going to go again and say that having the impact grenades is fantastic. We're starting to see Echo evolve from less of this lazy character in nature, and also the players just kind of bunkering down the site to Echo plays being, I don't know, maybe there's something you could talk to Monk3y, but I believe that Echo players tend to be a little bit more dynamic now. So having the impact grenades to do the impact tracking, just kind of help a little bit more in sight is handy. And then at the same time, because there's no deployable shield, maybe that'll take away one of the shields that we're using elsewhere in the map to help him if he does need it. So yeah, I do think on the face of it, it may seem that him not having a shield is a bit counterintuitive. But when you think about it in a team play scenario, it's actually not a bad move at all. I fully agree with it.
Yeah, and Loopy, what did you say?
Be a little bit in the other camp. Because
Say again, Loopy?
I said I'm going to be a little bit in the other camp because I think definitely the effect of an Echo drone has always been about, at least for me, the camera shake. I mean, obviously there's the effect of stopping a plant and all those fun things, and those are truly powerful. I'm not discarding those. But if you're sort of just echoing someone to give them the disadvantage in a gunfight, to me it's been all about the camera sway, because really, what do you lose? Your outside of your screen gets a little black, your images start to get a little blurry, but for the most part you can still aim, you can still see exactly what's going on around you. But then you introduce that camera shake, that swaying back and forth, sort of like you're drunk, and your aim can kind of just gone. Your aim just, you'll lose it. And that right there is, I think, the disrupting effect that really comes with the Echo drone. And I actually have always really enjoyed that effect. Well, I've hated it on the receiving end, but I've hated it in the right way, if that makes any sense. It is, don't get me wrong, Echo's been a powerful operator for a long time. He's one of the most banned operators. He has 2 yokais that anyone can look at. He can stop a plant from anywhere on the map. It's just thing after thing after thing after thing. It's just a lot of utility. And so from that perspective, he definitely needed toning down. But I think I would have rather have seen, for example, 1 sonic burst per drone before cooldown, instead of the 2. I would have rather have seen that over losing the sway, personally, because I think Echo's real utility does come from that plant denial and whatever. That I think is really where his utility comes in. So I feel like you're not really targeting the right issue. That's not the right kind of issue. Drew, you are welcome to disagree with me on that, but I think that is more of his issue is plant denial and etc.
I, I guess with Echo, it was always a case of he did a lot, maybe too much. So it's kind of like you have to think about, what do you take away? Do you take away the camera sway? Do you take away the fact they're invisible cameras? Do you take away the plant denial aspect? And I think this is more to do with the introduction of the new operator than anything else. And they've just found a way to go, hey, we could kill two birds with one stone here. We can nerf Echo, take away some of his features, some of his abilities, and at the same time, we can make sure that all operators of this class are in line with each other.
Yeah, that's actually well said on that one, because the fact that Echo is a powerful operator in his own way, and that's what the Dubs are trying to contain. Because why is Echo being banned? Kind of like majority of the time, and him affecting the plant, him affecting players, and being behind a shield that can literally you can see through the shield like a mirror technically, and then just peek up and push. It's kind of, yeah, he can be strong in his own way. And again, that's my perspective of being an Echo player. It can really affect people, and also going against an Echo is really, I can definitely understand the frustration from players on that one. But yeah, we're definitely gonna move on from that topic as well, because Echo is gonna be strong, and we're gonna see how it actually affects. Is his rate going to be going down or going up when it comes to ban phases? So that'll be like the topic that we'll probably discuss next, how that comes up in the future,
And
of course.
here is the change I'm most concerned about.
So yes, the concern that he is talking about is Finca. So the Finca is going to be increasing the base HP to 30. This is what I'm talking about, is when, let's say you're down and Finca boosts you up. When she boosts you up, that is going to be a biggest change. I can't wait to get that one. But when you get stimmed, it's 30 HP when you get revived by Finca boost. And then when you're down but not out stage, players will stand up back with 50 HP based off of the 30 that they had before. I don't. Loopy, go ahead. I'm already frustrated on this one as well, but go ahead.
So, just to give a little bit more of a concise explanation, when you get revived by Finca in the live servers, how she works right now, you get 25 XP. I mean XP, yeah, HP. You get 25 HP. You get 20 temporary health from the Finca boost itself, and 5 health from your pool, from your health pool. So when the Finca boost runs out, you're left with 5 HP. The change they're making is now when you get picked up by a Finca boost, you'll get 50 HP. 20 is still coming from that Finca boost of temporary HP that will disappear. But the extra 25 health, i.e. equaling a total of 30, is from your health pool. So when you get picked up, after the boost is over and everything, you end up with 30 HP. That is a lot of health. That is a lot of health. Because, God, it's been a while. So, reviving someone is, 20 HP? Manually? What is it, 20 HP? Someone
Yeah, I
pop
think
in
so.
here? I think it's 20. I think it's 20. So, you're getting more HP. And here's the thing that's crazy about this. It's just been an issue in Siege since her and Lion's release, and it's just an issue that sort of Ubisoft has committed a few times, especially with Dokkaebi and whatever, is it's what's called the concept of it's a global ability. Doesn't matter where on the map Finca is, and it doesn't really matter where on the map you are, you gain this benefit. It's a global ability. So, now we're running into the issue of not only did she originally have a global revive, which was powerful enough as it is, but it always had the draw, like the downside draw of it left you with 5 HP after the after the boost was all said and done. But now, not only is it it's a unlimited range, no matter what's in your way, no matter what walls are there or whatever. Not only do you get a free revive, but you get more HP than you normally would if you were manually revived by a player. So it's less risk and more reward. That's not how this should be. And I hear I hear already the argument of, well, when Doc revives someone, they get 75 HP. Yeah, well, Doc has to do 3 things. He has to, 1, pull out his stim pistol, 2, have line of sight on the person that's down, and 3, and I know this one's a little bit lesser than other, he has to hit a shot. Which I know, let me put it this way, if your teammate's trying to get revived, I'm assuming they're not trying to dodge it, so it's pretty easy to hit your shot, but there are still 3 other factors here. You have no idea how many times in like a panicked moment, the Doc player does a quick snap to try to get the revive and then snap back to the doorway so that he's not left exposed or whatever, and the shot just misses. Finka has 0 of those weaknesses. So obviously she's not reviving someone to 75 HP because that is only for Doc, but still, she has none of those weaknesses and still is a better revive than than uh than a normal revive. And I mean, this is more, we're now more getting into schematics or whatever, but Doc can only res 3 people max. He can only revive 3 people max. Finka has the potential to revive all 5 of her teammates. Or I mean all 4 of her teammates. My bad, because she can't revive herself. All 4 of her teammates. So just all around, there's just more utility there. Now, obviously, there is the whole concept of Finka's boosts are all temporary, including the hit points. Including the hit points are temporary, the HP. But I just don't know if that's enough. I don't know. You know, this is once again, I think one of those changes where I want to get my hands on it because maybe it's just not going to be relevant. You know, maybe it's like, whatever. But at the same time, it might just be that thing that just ticks Finka into the realm of overpowered again. I thought she finally was pretty balanced, and now they're buffing her again. And I'm just, we've had issues with Dokkaebi, we've had issues with Lion, we've had issues with Finka. Just global abilities don't belong in Siege. I'm sorry, they don't. And you're gonna buff one. Great, can't wait to see how this goes.
You don't need to be sorry about that. By the way.
And the thing about Finka, the only reason I feel like they definitely did that change is because I feel like Finka is at a play standpoint that is very low, especially for the meta, as in like helping the team get the objective. Like, let's say I feel Finka it strives very heavily in hostage, maybe even secure. But for bank in playing comp, Finka is more of a using utility, as in, hey, I'm going to rush site with my sausage shotgun and I'm going to destroy everybody and I have to boost myself up to do it. And that's what Finka's used for. But I'm feeling they want to probably bring her more now as saying, hey, I have a Doc on attack pretty much. Let me bring that. It could probably utilize a lot of more. Hey, Ash is going to push in. Let me try to help Ash roam clear. Let me help, all these other roam clearers do their job as bring the Finka. So that's probably why they were thinking about it. Maybe wanted to help more often and probably bring Finka's pick rate a little higher up. But that's the only reason why I could probably say though.
I mean, Finka's sort of been like, she's just, and this is my issue with global abilities in general, is that they've always been finicky. Lion, Finka, and Dokkaebi at their best were all pretty game breaking. Lion the worst, obviously, but all 3 of them were pretty game breaking at their strongest. And it really comes down to the fact that these abilities are truly just global abilities. There's no restriction on range. It affects everyone on the map. It doesn't matter where you are or what you do, it affects you. Well, maybe not no matter what you do, but point is that it affects everyone. And that's just sort of innately, like I said, I just don't personally believe that it belongs in Siege. But they're here and we can't do anything about it, so we have to deal with it. But I don't know. Like like you said, she's like an attack Doc, but like has none of the restrictions of Doc. and has benefits on top of it. Now, I do understand that there is the whole concept, and it is a very legitimate argument that reviving someone on attack is significantly harder than on defense. The defender is more likely to finish the attacker than an attacker is to finish a defender. Because attacker gets a lucky wall bang, shoots them through, shoots them, and when they drop to the ground, they're behind a deployable shield, which you obviously can't shoot through. Things like that. There are just more situations where a defender gets put in that down but not out state, the DBNO, and is able to be picked up. There's just more of them on defense, and just it's harder on attack. And that is a legitimate argument, but I still don't know if that quantifies if that equals out to, yes, this buff makes total sense. I don't know. Like I said, it worries me. I'm not saying I'm 100% against it. This change just worries me because we're gonna
Yeah.
push Finka just that much over the edge, and we're gonna see her on every round. We're gonna see her on every round.
Again, we'll definitely see how the community reacts to it. And of course, when these drop, we're gonna be seeing it right away. Again, Finka is not a new operator, but still, if she was, she'll be still being brought into collective. But still, we're gonna be seeing it and how the community tests it out. But we're not gonna waste too much time on that because we do have to wrap this up pretty shortly. We're gonna jump into the next conclusion very quickly. We're just gonna end it off of just putting both of the operators together. Excuse me, is that the Kaid and the Nomad? They are going to be both, of course, both came out at the exact same time. They're going to be doing the attack and the defense. Now, they're going to be adding another secondary to both of them. So, yes, they're pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you. So, Drew, do you want to go ahead and go into detail with these secondaries, buddy?
Absolutely. Just very quickly, before we do move on, because I was doing a little bit of research while Loopy was talking.
Oh, of course, yes, go.
I'm not too worried about this Finka buff. And the reason that I'm not worried about the Finka buff is because the majority of operators have a weapon that does, just doing the math quick, there's 21 operators that have access to a primary or a secondary that do at least 30 damage up to 50 meters. I don't think that, I guess just to kind of finish off the point quickly, I do think that there could be a chance that it does get a little bit worrying, but I don't think that it is enough to push it over the edge just yet. I think 30 base HP, and don't forget the ability not to go back down into the down but not out phase as well. Like I said, once you're down, you're gone. This time, I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue, just based on the raw statistics of the guns themselves, and the fact that the majority of gunfights on the defense side are going to be taken more in close quarter range, and certainly once we get into the meat and potatoes of the round anyway. But yeah, I just thought I'd add that into because, yeah, I was bored and wanted to look at numbers. No.
Oh, man, you're all about numbers, man. You're a number guy.
Right, sorry. So where were we? We were talking about the Kaid getting his pistol. The pistol
Yes,
changes.
Kaid
Yes.
and Nomad. Uh-huh.
Kaid Nomad. So I personally like these options. There are some people who are a big fan of the scoped Magnum. I know Loopy, you're a big fan of it yourself. I'm personally not a big fan of it. And I would feel more comfortable with the Magnum, albeit while it does pack a punch, it's not the most comfortable gun to use. But I do like I use it on my Dock and Rook class setup sometimes. I'm reminded, it's a bit nostalgic for me when I used to play Monty with the laser beam,
The hip fire.
laser sight. Yeah.
Don't remind me.
But I guess what I'm saying is I like that they're adding the option at least. It's not like they're taking it away and then something different. So it's not really an issue of buff or nerf really for me. It's more just it's nice to have a bit more variety in both cases. If you don't want to use a skilled weapon, because
no,
someone like me, I'm not the most skilled player with it. I just don't enjoy it at all, and so therefore I just don't rely on it at all unless I'm going for some mad like pixel peak.
See, this is how I run it. I run the DMR with the ACOG with the Mag 44, and I'm just pure range.
Double ACOG.
There's no other way to run it as far as I'm concerned. But no, I think overall it's like you said, if you're not comfortable with the scope pistol, the scope Magnum, perfect for you. There's an alternative now. There's literally no harm behind this change. If anything, it just makes these operators a little bit less clunky for certain people. No harm in it. totally okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no harm, no foul. All good here.
Good. And then the next person we're going to jump onto will be the Cali as well. So the Cali, they're going to be reducing the LV explosion. Of course, the LV explosion of the lance. That means her pretty much her gadget that's within the sniper, pretty much. So the fuse time is going to be going to 1.5 seconds. It's going to be coming down from a 2.5 seconds, which is pretty cool. And of course, the recoil that the gun controls of her secondary is going to be, of course, reduced as well with each shot that is shot, and of course going to be actually replacing the MK5 for the SMG9. So yeah, Loopy, that's all yours because you're saying hallelujah. So you want to tell everybody why the hallelujah?
When Kali came out, personally at least, this when I didn't think her sniper rifle was going to be nearly as busted as people thought it was going to be. Like people were like terrified of that thing. I never was afraid of it. I just want to put that out there. And two, my biggest thing about Kali is I was so happy that there was finally an alternative to Thatcher. Finally, finally, finally. And then we got what we got. Which the sniper rifle, if you're good with it, don't get me wrong. If you are good with the sniper rifle, it's the best gun in the game. It will one shot no matter where you hit them. It'll at minimum put them in a DBNO or kill them outright. So, if you're good with it, it is literally the best gun in the game. But it has so many penalties on it. Which don't get me wrong, I think they need all the penalties because you don't want this kind of a weapon just running rampant in Siege. Like it had so many penalties on it. I never thought it would be the most amazing weapon, and I definitely found that she was going to rely on her secondaries, and the ones they gave her just weren't fantastic. Like they just weren't. And so I'm so glad to see them give her just a better secondary, one that's a little bit more reliable. Something that's just a little bit more reliable. And to see the lance fuse time being brought down because as a bandit player, so I play bandit fairly often. I wouldn't say it's like anything absurd, but I play him fairly often. And one of the things I noticed is that whenever a Kali lance stuck in the wall, I would just run over, pick up my bandits, and run away, and then re-put them down. Lost no utility, but guess what? Kali spended hers because 90% of the time I was near my batteries. There was no real downside to it. And so this is just going to allow that kind of strategy, unless you are literally staring at the battery, pretty much that battery's gone. And that is a change that she desperately needed because that was her whole purpose. And it just didn't work. Like, I mean, it worked, but it was so easily counterable that it was pretty much irrelevant. So, hallelujah, blessed be the Lord. God does exist. Kali needed this desperately. I don't know if anyone wants to add it on that, but that is my 2 cents.
Drew, anything on you, buddy?
No, not at all. I think Macy J said it best. Kelly can finally enter the building.
Yeah,
With what he
time.
says. So
Oh,
About time.
God.
yeah, not a big Kelly player myself, but all for making. I'm all for the changes that it seems to make her
Even if
just gives her a little bit more help to handle herself in
Right, exactly.
situations.
This is sort of, I think, the mentality that at least everyone should take. Even if it's an operator you don't play, the operator should be playable. And Kali
Yeah.
just didn't feel playable.
But of course, moving on to the next one, and Callie's dreams come true. We're gonna be talking about just one that already happened, but it's finally gonna come to console. So we're just gonna get that one out of the way. We already talked about it in our previous podcast episodes as well. But it's gonna be the Ying. Of course, the Candela charge is getting taken away. She had 4 to come back into this patch, and then now she went back down to 3. The patch has already happened to PC, so of course, people that are playing PC or listen to this, of course, you guys are in the you guys are already in heaven right now. We're still over here suffering. Yeah, we're still suffering.
I still can't see.
For so yeah, literally.
I haven't played Siege since like last night, and I still can't see.
Yeah, well, it's that meme. The meme's all over there, man. It's how it is. Like, the Ying push in, and then all you see in your screen is like, yeah, she definitely pushed in. it's completely white.
I'm noticing a lot of white on my screen right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of white, man. So yes, I know PC is in the heaven, but yes, we're still struggling. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, we're gonna be going down to 3. Um, again, it's pretty powerful, especially having 4. So it's actually a good thing to bring it back to 3. The only thing that you could probably do differently than that is take away her smokes because,
Please don't.
I hate to say it, but it's just playing against that. Like throw her smokes, kills the ADS or kills the my discs, and then throw the Candela charges in. You're blind. You're kind of blind. But again,
I beg you.
but yes. But going into the next one, guys, the Ella and Sophia, we're not going to really touch base onto that one. It's just fixing kind of more of a mouse sensitivity issue, but obviously not our issue. But hopefully down the road, yes, hopefully down the road, the concussion effects will not affect too much. But the thing is, of course, not for us just yet. But for Onyx is going to be the last guy right, who we're going to be talking about, and he is going to be finally getting a little bit of help because this man will literally smash through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man and get 10 HP deducted from him. They're finally going to be improving that and actually only taking away 5 HP from that, so that's actually pretty good from him. He is going to be losing the bulletproof camera, and if anybody used it, but they're going to be taking away his bulletproof camera and actually giving him one of the beautiful sensors. And of course, going to be adding a lovely angled grip to his MP5, which is
the most significant change in there.
Yes, that's why I left it for last because that is crucial. The MP5 having an angled. Now, it's not the first time, just because the fact that Echo does have one. If I'm correct, yes, I think he does.
He does.
So now you're telling me you're gonna take away that you're gonna give the MP5 that. That means that most likely Doc and Rook might have that. Plus having an ACOG? Ugh, that's
So here's actually, I think, interesting because actually, if you read the patch notes, it says added angled grip option to Oryx MP5.
yes.
Which says to me that for the first time in Siege history, Oryx might have access to an attachment on a weapon that no one else does, despite having the same weapon. And I'm okay with that because I don't think Doc or Rook need the angled grip. Trust me, I
Oh
don't
no.
think they do.
Oh no.
But Oryx, ironically, desperately does. And it has to do with Oryx's playstyle in general. Like you said, you Kool-Aid Man through the wall, you have that stun effect, and then you have to pretty much hip fire them. Because taking the time to ADS, they're gonna get up in time or they're gonna shoot you or whatever. All this angled grip allows is for even after suffering that stun, you can still outdraw the attacker. It's gonna make it so that you absolutely outdraw the attacker. So, personally, as long as they don't give it to Doc and Rook, this is a beautiful change.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Now,
I
if
think
you give it to Doc and Rook,
then we'll probably be talking. You'll hear me complain.
some problems.
You're gonna hear me complaining. This man's ADSing faster than I can ADS. It's gonna be ridiculous. Plus having an ACOG. Jesus.
One thing you need to be worried about though is that just because he has the angle grip and obviously his pull-up time is going to be much better, it doesn't mean that he gets out of the animation quicker. So that is something to look out for. I think the health thing is actually pretty significant too, because I know I kind of bang on them about him a bit, but like kind of coming back to what I was saying about Finker and how many bullets it takes to kill someone. The majority of the majority of automatic rifles, if you look at the attackers, it takes like 3 to 5 shots to the chest to kill, depending on what kind of armor they are. So before, when he would go through a wall, it would put him down to 90 health. That is quite literally the difference for the majority of weapons between it being a 4-shot kill to a 3-shot kill, or a 5-shot kill to a 4-shot kill. So bringing it down to 5, it doesn't seem like much, because like, when you think about it, like a lot of people think about this in terms of, all right, okay, so we can go through one extra wall. But I think the comparison you need to make is the amount of bullets it takes for the average assault rifle to kill you. And again, like Oryx is never going to be a staple defender, in my opinion, unless a lot of changes come down the line. It is, again, it's a bit like Kali. It's nice to be in to see Oryx in a place where he can at least handle himself a little bit more. He seems like a really fun operator to play as well. just
Of course.
in terms of his gadget, and then having the proximity alarm. It just seems like you could do so much with him. So
Who
having
doesn't want
that,
to be who doesn't want to be the Kool-Aid man, man?
No, see,
Who
I'm
does not
waiting
want
for
to be
the
that?
I'm waiting for the proximity alarm to go off, and you just like you trigger it, you look around for it, and then all of a sudden you just hear this like
just through a
absolute
wall.
unit of a man
Yeah.
just running at you.
Like, what?
And they say Siege isn't a horror game, and they say Siege isn't a horror game.
Oh, Jesus. I just know that those alarms, I'm telling you, Loopy, right now, those alarms will see that you're in charge of the events for Collective. That's going to be a heck of a game. Making mini games out of those are going to be fun, man.
Oh
I
my
can already tell.
god.
I can
Oh
already
my
just read the future into that one. Huh?
busting through walls and knocking people down.
I think a common theme from like these patch notes, by the way, I don't know if you guys agree, but as someone who's kind of like lost a bit of love for playing the game, instead just prefers to watch it these days, I'm seeing a lot of fun in these patch notes, and there's certainly a few things that I think are very strong right now. But bearing in mind that it's arguably a 4-week test server, and none of these changes are set and will be tweaked over the coming weeks. I do see a lot of promise this season, just in terms of just making it a little bit more fun, whilst also making some very small but effective meta shifts
Oh,
at the top level.
absolutely. I mean, Amaru has pretty much seen as, generally speaking, one of the most fun operators in the game.
Hmm.
But she was just so inconsistent, and to put it kind of harshly, she was just straight up bad. She was. But after the change, she's not gonna. I don't think she's gonna become the top tier fragger for all the reasons that Drew talked about earlier. But she's gonna be a lot more played, more because she is so much fun, and now she's gonna also be viable on top of it.
Yeah. And again, guys, these are all good points. I personally feel like this is going to be an amazing season. You know, I already said this from the beginning, and I'm going to say it at the end, guys. This is going to be an amazing season, going into detail literally like we did, guys, for you guys. These are going to be some great changes, and I just can't wait. I can't wait till they be active. I can't wait until the test servers are over to actual see if what's going to stay, what's not going to change. And the thing about you guys is also that you got to know from Siege is that they sometimes don't even add things on the patch notes for the content creators and for the community to actually find out themselves.
Shout
So
out, genius.
those so those are going to be fun to actually find out as well. It's like kind of like a game. Just you got to find out what the differences is, and it's pretty good. It's gonna be cool. It's definitely be a fun ride to go along. And sadly, the time has come to us to end the podcast. And you know, I don't know if you guys want to say anything, guys, to the people watching at home or watching anywhere they're listening to. Excuse me. But this is your time to say it, Loopy and Drew.
I just want to say, Siege is, don't get me wrong, frustrating. But we want to see it around. We want to see it stay around. So go out there and play. This patch definitely seems a lot of fun. So even if you didn't have a lot of fun with the current season, sort of brush it under the rug, put it in the corner with Chimera and just play it. Play Steel Wave. It's gonna be fun. I'm telling you.
And you, Drew, anything you got to say to everybody watching and listening?
I mean, by the sounds of it, it's a pretty long episode. So if you made it this far, thanks for listening to us. Like, go on and on about our very important opinions. Yeah, like it's appreciate people listening, especially since I'm not very good at the whole talking podcast stuff. But it's great to be here.
Good, man. It's good to have you as a special guest, man, and hopefully to see you in the future, of course, because this is a bonus episode. But again, after this episode, guys, we should be into the week of pretty much the semifinals already, guys. We're gonna be pretty much going into BO3s right after that in collective. So, by next time you guys hear us, we're gonna be actually talking about statistics. We're gonna be talking about the schedule that's gonna be happening, and of course the casted days. So of course you guys can stay tuned. Of course, anything, guys, everything behind the call out wise, okay? Behind the call out on YouTube, guys, Spotify, iTunes, guys. Stay tuned. Of course, follow us everywhere on Collective Esports, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all that stuff, guys. Okay. I'll keep you guys posted. This has been Monkey. This has been Loopy and our special lovely guest, Drew. I'm keeping you guys hope and locked and loaded. And of course, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.